Well, God bless you. Welcome, welcome, welcome to another round, another episode of The Connector, where I am your host, Sharon Davis. And if you followed anything about The Connector here in the city, or if you followed us on social media, you know that we simply believe in bringing people and businesses together, right? Making introductions to empower one another through our own knowledge and resources, the tools and the wisdom that God has given us. We are making those introductions and we are making it happen as a team. How many of you all know that we win together? And so, as I always say, I'm always excited, but I'm a little excited today and overwhelmed with the guests that we have on the show today. The reason being is because at this time last year, many of you all know that life changed very drastically for the nation as we began to encounter this whole thing called COVID-19. And so we had some losses, we had some gains, but how many of you all know that it is our faith, right? That has truly kept us to this day. And the person that we have on the show on today, who thinks about really launching a business in the midst of what is considered now a pandemic, right? But if you all know anything like I know, right, we serve a God who just does things that continues to blow our mind, even in the midst of a pandemic. And so today, our guest, along with his wife, they launched their own insurance agency in the midst of a pandemic called Willsurance Agency. So would you all please, ladies and gentlemen, welcome Mr. Charles Wilson to the Connector on today. Welcome, Mr. Wilson.
Hey, great evening to you, Sharon. Well, thank you for having me.
We're so
Hello,
glad
everyone
that
out
you
there.
joined us. Yeah. So tell us about Willsurance Agency. I like to dive right into it. Tell us what this is all about, how this all got started in the midst of a pandemic, and let's just ride.
I can't say anything of myself right now because this was all God.
Oh
This was
man,
all God.
that's good
I
stuff.
have to say that first and foremost, all God. I got my first taste of the insurance business years ago when I was
Okay.
like in my late 20s. Um, but at that time, I tell my wife all the time, my mind wasn't ready for that back then. God had to grow me.
Absolutely.
God had to grow me. And in this, at the time, I think it was around about October or November of 2019,
Okay.
I had no clue about starting an insurance business. It's something I know I did before. Just working for a company, I was selling like cancer policies and
Okay.
things like that. And I really didn't want to do that. And of course, um, I've done things like graphic design and other things like that. And all of a sudden, we're having service at my church, Majestic Kingdom Embassy. My
Okay.
pastor, Dr. Miller, he brings a prophet over from Africa, Prophet
Wow.
Bernard Taylor.
Wow.
And he literally called my whole family up by name, didn't
Jesus.
know us, was calling us up by name and everything. God was using him mightily that night. And he began to tell us about this $1 million insurance company.
Wow.
And me and my wife were like, okay. Because that's something I thought about, but it was like far in the back of my mind. But he told us about it. He was talking about details that I know he didn't know. Only God had to know that. And then once he spoke that, a few months later, I think it was like the very beginning of 2020, I think.
Okay.
We had no idea about any pandemic or anything like that, what was gonna
Right.
happen. And you know my leader. You know my leader personally.
I know.
Um, when you catch him after he preaches, you catch him after he preaches. Um, we're just saying our goodbyes for service that day, and he just stopped me and said, You need to start your insurance business right now.
Wow. So first you get, so you were an agent, you said some years ago, right?
Some years ago.
Okay. And so, right. And you talked about the graphic design of it, because that's what I knew you of, is in the graphic design world, right? And then now you get the prophet from Africa who doesn't know you, right? Releases a word into you about the insurance business. Mm-hmm. Then the leader that you serve up under, Dr. Timothy Miller, tells you you need to do it, and you need to do it now. So you had enough faith in that, even if you didn't have it in yourself at the time, to go ahead and step out and do this thing.
Wow. I did, because one thing I do know about my leader, Dr. Miller, his word don't fall to the ground.
All right.
I know that much. True. Over the years. I've seen that much, and I know that. So what he didn't know was God was dealing with me about it. I was just trying not to, I was just being a Jonah, basically.
Okay.
I was just being a little bit of a Jonah. And I had already thought of the name. You know, he had given me the name, and I was doing little mock-ups and everything of what the logo may look like. And then when a week later after he said that, I brought in my business card.
Wow. A week later. So you jumped on it.
A week later.
So for anybody that's out here listening at this point, when God tells you to move on what he's birthing you need to move, right? Okay. Don't delay.
Straight to him. I say, here it is. Here it is. The Will Insurance Agency. Because I was like, God, what do I name this thing? Because at first it was like CNC. He was like, no, your name needs to be in it. Wow. And he was like, Will Insurance. And I'm like, okay. So came up with the logo, came up with the cards and everything. But here's the crazy part about it. What people don't know is how God actually set it up without me kind of realizing what was going on.
Wow.
For the past 7.5 years, I had actually worked in finance. I had worked for a finance company. At the finance company, for some reason, he favored me.
All right.
I was one of the fastest people to reach management there.
All right.
And I think, from what I remember, I think I got my first promotion in like 6 months.
That's awesome.
And I made management 3 months later.
Okay.
Then over time, I dealt with various positions of management, got a lot of experience. Then in 2017, I don't know how he set this up, but me and my wife ended up working for a national insurance company.
All right. He'll prepare you for what's to come. We know in parts, but he knows the full picture.
A national insurance company.
I love it.
So she's working in customer service. I'm working actually in operations in the licensing department. So what I'm doing, I'm vetting agents. I'm not only learning about the selling part, but I'm learning about how the agencies and insurance companies actually work.
Wow. I hear it.
I'm learning all of that, how they actually work. And once that happened, he actually allowed me to gain my license.
Okay.
I got my Georgia license for life insurance.
All right.
And then one of the craziest things that happened is, because in the insurance industry, when you work for a company, most times they have you as what's called a captive agent.
Okay.
And you have, in that contract, you cannot sell for anyone else.
Gotcha. Wow.
So most times you have to wait maybe a year or 2 years before you can get out of that contract. But for some reason, when I left the company, God favored me. They allowed me to not only sell for them, but sell for other people.
So favor, what normally would happen for somebody else, they allowed you, still under their contract, to also sell for somebody else.
For other people.
My God.
For other people. for other people. It was amazing because that's hard to do sometimes, especially when you're just starting out. Most people that's just starting out, they have to work under someone for years. But God favored me to allow me to be independent from the jump. So I'll say, okay, God, so I'm out here now. I'm out here now. How do I get things like this started? Lo and behold, for some reason, God was like, talk to your insurance agent.
Wow.
So I talked to my insurance agent, one who I, got my life and health insurance from. And he actually told me everything I needed to know about how to get started.
Wow.
As an independent.
Yeah, yeah.
He told me how I can go to these people and contract with them, go to these people and contract with them. And through that, it was possible for me to contract with several national insurance companies.
Okay.
So I can give people great options. So now I actually have great options for people when it comes to life insurance coverage. And one thing I do know, and one thing I thank God for our leader, Dr. Miller, pushing into us, is that he talked about being kingdom and we talked about being excellent. So what I did, I learned my craft. I started learning and learning and learning over these years about everything having to deal with life insurance. Everything from how it works for the customer, and how it works for the agent, and how it works for the company, how the whole process goes together. So when I speak to a customer now, I'm not that guy that's just gonna try to sell you something.
Right. You actually know what you're talking about.
I know what I'm talking about. And I'm not that guy, because unfortunately there are those out there.
Yeah.
I'm not that guy that's gonna walk into a house and sell them something I know that they don't need just to try to get a commission. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna talk to you. I'm gonna find out what your needs are as far as your family is concerned. And what we're gonna do, we're gonna come up with a plan to get you the best coverage and give you the best option, not only just to have something to quote bury you, not to just bury you, but we're trying to leave your family something that they can live off of.
I love it. That's honesty. That's integrity and character. But I heard you say something. So your product, so the product that you sell for your insurance agency is life insurance, right?
Yes, ma'am. We're starting out with life insurance at this point. We just celebrated our 1-year anniversary.
Yeah, happy anniversary.
At this point, we're life insurance at this point, but we have plans to grow into the other areas of insurance as far as property and casualty.
And this is for the state of Georgia, right?
That's for the state of Georgia. Also, I'm licensed in Georgia and Florida, so I can serve customers in both states.
Wow. Listen, are you all paying attention to this? Launched a business in the midst of a pandemic, life insurance, something that all of us need, right? We've all got to take that, road at some point, right? Now, not only serving the state of Georgia, also serving Florida, all in the midst of a pandemic. You just reached your 1-year anniversary. And if anybody is listening today that is even thinking about starting a business, you're the person really to place those nuggets today, because oftentimes I tell people, you gotta pay attention. You gotta always have integrity and character, no matter what, in whatever occupation, whatever job God has you in. You never know ultimately what's going to be down the line. Now, you said something, you had all of these jobs. You were in the finance world, right? You were an insurance agent, but because I'm sure you knew that, okay, I'm just kind of passing through, right? But you took heed to still learn the tools and instruments that you were given. oftentimes, and I got to be honest, I see this in, you know, more of our younger generation that's coming up. You know, you give them an opportunity. They know they want to start their own business, but right now they know, you know, they need to work, and they just kind of lackadaisical, don't really, you know, take advantage of the tools and resources that are put before you. But you never know when you're going to need them down the line. Now, if you had just kind of been the agent that was kind of lackadaisical back then, hey, I really don't want to do this. Maybe I do, maybe I don't, you know, and not have really plugged in, right, to everything they had, you probably would not have gotten the favor. But it's God that gave you the favor with your, you know, with your director or your CEO, whoever it was that gave you the open, you know, that channel. And so this is what I want to encourage the people that are out there, even if you are being mentored by someone, when people are putting their time and their energy into you, make sure you're paying attention, and make sure that you're being respectful and that you honor that gift before you, because the day is going to come, you entrepreneur, and you're going to want somebody to receive you the way, right? You're going to want them to receive you wholeheartedly, but you got to make sure that you're giving that energy off as well. Another thing that you said in the midst, I never heard you in your in this conversation so far that said, well, you know what, COVID started taking place and this started. All along, all I kept hearing you talk about were the steps that you were taking to get it done. You received the word. And this is the reason why I always say, you know, this show is a little different from the norm, because it's faith driven. You know, have you ever gone into a nail shop, right? Or, you know, you're going into this other shop, and their religion, right? If it's Buddha or if it's Hindu, you're going to know it, because when you walk in there, they're normally up against the wall or they're down on the floor, and you got these little things around them, right? And so I always say that whatever God is giving you to do, even in the secular world, even in the marketplace, your faith, whatever your belief system is connected to that. You all heard him talk about there was a seed that was planted in him, in his faith, in a church that he's connected to, in the leaders that he's connected to. And from there, it grew. I am sure somebody's listening today. You may have your own business already launched, but you feel like it's not, you know, at the capacity where it should be. Whoever it is, whatever organization, whatever ministry it is that you are connected to, it is important that you have a true relationship. Who's praying over you? Who's covering your business? Because ultimately, I think as we talked about with Mr. Morris on last week, it doesn't matter if you're selling, your water is not the best compared to Dasani or, you know, some other water. But if you have the favor of God upon you, that's all you need on your side. And you believe and you're exercising your own faith and you are in the right timing of God, it still has to work for your good. You said something earlier. You were not thinking about that back then. But what if you were and you were trying to push things forward? We've got to make sure that we are in the timing of God. Don't compete against anyone. Your time is now. You say, well, they got a boutique and that's what I want to do. And I haven't launched mine yet. When you are in your timing of God, it has to come to pass. So the steps of a good man, right, are ordered by the Lord. And so, Mr. Wilson, what I hear you saying on today, your steps were ordered by the Lord. And you just had to get in a position of receiving what he had for you. And once you began to receive what he had for you, then you began to put things in place. But oftentimes we can't move because we received the word, but we never move, right? Because all we say, okay, you know what, I can do it. But soon as we walk away from the word, we say, you know what, there ain't no way that's gonna happen. I've only been a graphic designer. I've only been an insurance agent. I've only been in the finance. And you're telling me I'm going to launch my entire business that I own in a world that I don't even feel like I'm qualified for. So doubt and fear has to go if you are going to be able to sustain, in business, in anything in this time. Keep going, Mr. Wilson.
What you were saying there, and I thought about a lot of stuff that I heard, and I remember talking about Daniel one time. One thing Daniel did when he was in Babylon, and I'm gonna I'm the preacher coming out of me. I can't help that right now.
All right, it's all right.
But Daniel, when he was in Babylon, even though he was in that system, he made himself valuable. From the jump. Under Nebuchadnezzar, he made himself valuable. And that's one of the principles that I live by. Wherever I worked, I tried to make myself valuable. I really did. And that way, once that king or whoever, that leader, whoever's over you on that particular business favors you, that's your opportunity to learn everything.
Awesome. I love it.
That's the opportunity to learn everything. And once you learn everything, I promise you, God will let you see why you had to learn that.
Wow.
Now I see why I had to learn finance for those years. Now I see why I had to do the insurance, work inside the insurance agency. Now I see why I spent time learning graphic design and marketing all those years, because he was setting me up for my own business. Because right now it's crazy. I don't have to pay anybody to do my graphic design.
Right. Oh, y'all hear this?
I can do that myself.
And it's very professional. I've seen it. I love it. Spirit of excellence. I love it.
And I never knew all those gifts that he put in me. What it was for all those years ago. But as we say, we'll know by and by.
All right.
We'll understand by and by.
Wow.
Now I understand some things, Sharon. I understand.
That's all right. It's a journey. It's a process.
Now that I have that understanding, and now that I have that understanding of the purpose that I have now, once it launched, I had to then do the work.
Yeah.
I had to do the work. What do I mean by do the work? In the midst of a pandemic, I had to do the work. Here I was.
Y'all hear that? In the midst of a pandemic, say it again. In the midst of a pandemic, I had to do the work.
The work.
That's good.
Okay. Had to do the work. So I had to market myself. I had to do the social media stuff. And then, even in the midst of a pandemic, I was doing the old school stuff, and still am. I was going door to door.
All right.
I get in my car. I drive to different cities around the area with my cars, with my flyers, hit different neighborhoods, hit different stores. I'm going door to door. I'm knocking. I couldn't shake hands, but I'm passing out my cards. So I had to do the work.
Hallelujah.
Even if you get 10,000 no's, the yeses, if I could use that, if I could say that, I know it's not a real word, but the yeses that you do get, they're worth it.
Right. You just said something, and I know you're in ministry, as well. And like I said, there are a lot of people that know me, as pastor overseer, but we all have our own leaders, right? I always say every pastor, every leader, you need a leader. You need somebody that's pointing to you. And you said something. My pastor, Scott T. Sanders, that's one thing he just talked about. I think he did a series on it a few weeks ago, but he labeled it as like violent faith, in the midst of, a pandemic, you have to have another level of faith that's just, beyond, what we can even imagine. And if you already have to have, a serious faith walk, and on top of, before a pandemic, you could have still been getting, 15 no's, before you finally got to that yes, or 100 no's before you finally got to a yes. It's even harder now, in the midst of a pandemic. But when you know that that what God has for you and that he's placed something on the inside of you, there is a type of faith that's like a roaring lion that comes out of you that says, you know what, come hell or high water, I will be what God has called me to be. And whatever he has given you to serve, as we say, this present age, whatever that gifting is, I'm asking everybody that's listening on today, if you have not identified what that is, get connected. Whatever it is that you believe you're called to do, and you say, I don't know how to do it, get connected to some of these people in this group. Get connected with your leader if you haven't already done so. These are the people, these are the tools and resources that's going to be an aid to get you where you need to be, not for our sake, but for the God-given purpose that he's given you for this earth. And if you are not moving in your purpose in this earth, you are doing yourself a disservice and the people that need what you have to offer. You got to change your mindset. We got to change our mindset. You cannot want, right? You cannot want an empire built, but you're on a storefront mentality. Even if your business is in a storefront, don't think of it as being in the storefront. Think of it as being mega. think of it as being national, because most of the time, whatever we believe here, that's what we execute out in the front. Whatever we believe here, that's what we execute out in the front. And so you've got to know that what he has inside of you, it's not just for you, it's not just for your city. This man lives in the state of Georgia, but he's also serving the state of Florida. Listen, Mr. Wilson, we have been blessed. I know we were running out of time. We have been blessed on today, but I want to make sure that the people are able to connect with your business on today. How can they reach out? How can they get more information on Will Assurance Agency?
Yes, ma'am. All of my social media at the Will Assurance Agency. If you just type in Google at the Will Assurance Agency, all of my social media will pop up: Instagram, Facebook. You can message me. You can give me a call. My number is 229-376-9806. Feel free to call, text if you need to get in contact with me. If you need insurance help, I'll be glad to help you with that as well. If you want to just talk about, if you're an inspiring person that wants to know about the insurance business,
I love it. Yes.
we can talk about that as well. We can talk about all of that. Like I said, feel free to message me. Feel free to message me, DM me, message me at any time. And I'll get back with you, and I'll be glad to talk with you.
We certainly, we thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule, especially on a Saturday, and you're in the insurance world. I'm sure you could be working right now. And so we are grateful for the opportunity to be able to share with you and to hear your story on today. And so we thank you for just literally walking us through the journey. I know sometimes, people like to rush things, but I like to give people that time to just let them tell their story, tell the vision that God has given them, in their own way. And so you certainly did that on today. And listen, we pray the favor of God on you and your wife and the business. And we believe in that even, you're going to increase in a school. People need to hear this story. People need to hear how, what it takes to get into that type of world. And, listen, you gave a whole lot of tips, on today that needs to be in a book. Hint, maybe that could be your next step. What needs to be, in a school of the Will Assurance Agency, so that you can launch other agents, out there, and to be able to branch out on their own. This is what it's about. I'm sure somebody's listening. You said something earlier that it showed. I didn't even know, because I'm not in the insurance world. All you've seen, is the person that, is manages your policy or whatever the case of that company. And, you said something that it's hard to get out of the contract to go and be your own independent agent. And so that's something that I'm sure we've got insurance agencies, I believe, that are also in this group. I'm sure they need to hear that, because perhaps they've been wanting to start their own, but they didn't know how to get out. And so I challenge you all that are listening on today, and you want to go into the insurance business, connect with Will Assurance Agency, connect with Charles Wilson, and let him, guide you and walk you through it. We all need each other. We don't know everything, but the process is to make sure that we're learning and we are respecting one another's craft and getting in there and making it happen. We win together. And listen, the connector, your host, I am a part of the winner circle. That's what we believe in our ministry. I am a part of the winner circle. We don't fail. So if you're connected here, you cannot fail. You cannot fail, because God has us. Amen. So any final remarks or comments before we go ahead and end it for today, Mr. Wilson?
Well, Sharon, thank you for having me this evening.
Yes, sir.
God
absolutely.
bless you. And like I said, do the work.
Do the work.
Do the work. When God purposes you, when he gives you that purpose, just do the work. There's a lot of things that you can't control, but you can just do the work.
But you can do the work.
And once you do the work,
that's good.
I promise you, he will back you.
Awesome. Well, there you have it, Mr. Charles Wilson of the Will Assurance Agency. Thank you so very much. Thank you all for tuning in again on another episode of The Connector. Until next time, be blessed and be well. God bless you all.